An inmate at the California State Prison, Los Angeles County, Lancaster, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello?
Hello. What's up, y'all? It's your girl Jay Rene with Prison Riot Radio. I hope that you're doing well. On the phone this afternoon, we got a brother by the name of Prince Akili. All right, he's got a lot of things going on, even though he's behind the G-wall. So we're going to holler at him so we can get more acquainted. What's up, good brother? How are you?
I'm doing blessed. How about yourself, sister?
I'm doing blessed as well. Definitely appreciate you for taking this time to interview with us.
Right. And that's what we're here for. You know, we're here to, give the appropriate information that we know that can change the system that which we all are bound by.
Okay. Well, first we're going to learn a little bit more about you. So get it, people, let them know a little bit about yourself and where you from.
All right, first and foremost, I'm from California. I come out of the city of Inglewood. My name is Ryan Brown. My street name is Red Eyes, as well as my conscious name is Prince Akili. Now, however, coming out of the streets of Inglewood, I was a thug. I was somebody that representing a certain culture and lifestyle to the point where I caused genocide within my community. However, that caused me to go to prison at the age of 15 years old and being sentenced to 29 years in state prison institution.
Right.
Now,
go ahead, bro.
Quickly, I had to find myself. I had to identify, how did I get here? How did I put myself in this position? And what it led me to is a whole group of studies, soul searching, and being around individuals that had more information than I had. And by me being around elders, by me being on level 4 institutions, and I was still active. I was still, somebody that was representing, like I said, that culture that was committing genocide against our own type of people, of which I call puppets. And that's not to, diminish or make our people look bad when I say puppets, or when I say those that continue to cause genocide. It's just we have been tricked, brainwashed into thinking that we're supposed to live according to how the streets of Los Angeles taught us to live as children coming out of the 90s and the 80s of the crack epidemic, as well as the explosion of gangbanging coming out of the 70s and the late 60s.
Mm-hmm. So I want to run it back a little bit. So you said that you went in when you were 15. So how long have you currently been incarcerated?
17 years.
Okay. So, being incarcerated as an adult is tough enough. What was your experiences as a minor, as a kid, being forced into such an adult situation?
Well, it automatically put me in a situation of what I explain as living in a jungle full of different type of animals, or different type of people, or different type of conducts, because you had some individuals was cool and at ease. You had some individuals that was real strict on politics and conduct and structure. You had some individuals that was manipulative. It put you in a position to where you had to protect yourself quickly. And so I went in head first. Because I came from out of Inglewood. Inglewood breed nothing but real soldiers. It breed the type of brothers that I know, if we was to lead them to being revolutionary or an activist for our community, we can make a difference. Them type of individuals. So I had that fire in me, but reversed to where it was against my own brother or against my own enemy.
Right.
And that's how I went in as that lion head. instantly, once I became imprisoned, I started seeing other people that was getting conscious of information. And I was even though I was active constantly, involved in necessary drama or bull crap or building such of a name for myself, I went to church. I went to church, and at this time, it was just a regular Christianity services. I wasn't so much embedded into what Christianity was or the structure or defined it, but I attended.
Okay. So I was going to ask you next, what has kept you motivated, through these last 17 years?
What kept me motivated was studying. I was trying to figure out who am I and what can I do for my people and how can I change, that influence that I have. So if I have the influence of my people in my city, that's with me because I was active, or what we consider active, then I can easily use this same type of influence and activism in our community, such as doing food drives, such as backpack supplies, building schools, fixing institutional racism versus individual racism that's been targeting our people. So I went through studies. I went through studies, and through the time of being active in these prison institutions and being in unwanted situations, it led me to being shoes, which is in a hole, or when you're doing a lot of time in confinement to where there's nobody around you and you're by yourself, probably with one cellie, and all you have were books. And at this time, you wasn't given TVs. So it gave me that room to where I had a heap of studies. I started reading Malcolm X Speak from George Brittman. I started reading The Dead Are Rising by Max Payne. I started reading the biography of Bob Marley by Timothy White. I started reading Kwame Ture and Charles V. Hamilton, Black Power, The Politics of Liberation. I started just getting into my roots. Francis Cresswelling's ISIS Papers, and just learning the politics of what you call political science of America institutions. And I quickly found out that Black people was enslaved. And I was angered because when I was young, being so bad in school, I knew that there was a race of people that was enslaved, but I didn't know that it was really our Black people. It was really our people. It was us. It was our blood. These are our ancestors. So I'm like, okay, so where did gangbanging come from? So I get into the root of gangbanging, and my people was political. They was doing for the community. I'm talking about 1960s. They was doing for the communities. They was helping people. They was helping old folks. They was keeping our people away from Ku Klux Klan members. In 1977, Ku Klux Klan members was in Inglewood, having rallies in Inglewood, in Darby Park. Darby Park is the park I come from.
Okay.
I didn't know that was Ku Klux members used to hold rallies in this park at one point in time in 1977.
Wow.
And in 1877. And come to find out, our neighborhood was pushing the number 1977 or 77. So this is when I know we've been tricked and we've been bamboozled. And from there, I knew my people have been what you call infiltrated by the police officers in our community and turned us into gangsters and turned us to straight thugs. And that's what inspired me to make a difference and want to change.
Yeah, I was about to say, you, even though you're behind the G-Wall, you are extremely active in your community. So, let the listeners know more about that.
Well, so far what I did was I wrote a book called Save Our Generation, and I'm writing the second edition. And the second edition is Save Our Generation, Institutional Racism, Birth, Mass Incarceration. So first and foremost, what I do now is I run about 2 organizations. One is Inglewood Champion. Inglewood Champion was the individuals of my friends and my brothers that I was raised with in the city of Inglewood, Crenshaw, Manchester area. And you can go further, towards like Hyde Park and Centinela, anywhere within Inglewood. It don't matter. I put the whole Inglewood up. It doesn't even matter because they're my brothers and they own and we own. So I support the whole Inglewood. I don't care what part of Inglewood it is, but I mainly come out of Crenshaw, Manchester area, 8th Avenue.
Okay.
Now, what we do is we do backpack supplies every first Thursday of the month. We do supply giveaway for schools. We build curriculum for our churches, about like 2 churches. Right now we on 108th. The curriculum is called From Kings to Criminals, From Criminals to Kings. And it just basically talks about the 3 stages of control.
Okay.
The 3 stages of control. I actually studied from the book, The New Jim Crow, with Michelle Alexander. And from her book, I identified a study that brought me to called The Kings of Criminals, Criminals to Kings, because it's something that I call the 3 stages of control of what our black folks went through. The first stage is slavery, the second stage is Jim Crow, and the third stage is law and order white supremacy. If you notice, in our generation, sister, we have not defeated law and order Jim Crow era, or what we call the new Jim Crow. We have not defeated that. Law and order still stands strong. When you say America and you put on the side of America, you have to put the system of policing. Bottom line. And this is why I like Black Lives Matters and Melina Abdullah and Baba Akili, which is a co-founders of Black Lives Matters Los Angeles. Baba Akili is also how I became Prince Akili, because I love their study and how they mapped out of how our streets of Los Angeles and our people as a whole should be going. And I'm speaking just strictly from positivity of how they want to build our communities, no matter what gender or what color or what race or whatever you are, they want to help, bottom line. And if you reach out to them, they will help you. The long story short, through the system of Jim Crow, we can abolish it by being able to vote. Prop 17 states that anybody in California that comes off of parole can vote. So now we can put our brothers and our sisters in these political positions through gaining votes, putting them in school boards, putting them as well as in political official positions, and regain a different culture for our community, and let our brothers start being able to see a different culture of what they've been knowing or what they've been seeing, no matter if you're a blood or you're a Crip, because I believe
I think you're definitely right on point, with
from
a lot
Los
of the
Angeles
things that
and
you
all
said,
over
bro.
where we have
And, you definitely appreciate it for thinking outside of yourself, like learning these things and thinking outside of yourself enough to know that you want to pass them on and teach them. I think that's very important when it comes to getting better as a people and growing as a people.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of the information that I would like more of our brothers and our sisters to spread is the information that they learning about this system, because a lot of us didn't know about it, and a lot of us don't know about it.
Yeah.
And that's sad. So since we know that they're not being taught by their fathers, or we're not being taught of the information that's requiring them to know that they're being targeted. See, that's the thing. we need to break down this system, sister. Let's break down this system. And one of the things I keep mentioning is institutional racism versus individual racism. Individual racism is the police officers when they pulling individuals over, such as like Jacob Blake. For instance, that was shot by the police officer. Whenever that continues to happen like that, that's called individual racism. Institutional racism is what me and you have been placed in, such as poverty or disenfranchised communities, unfortunately, financially, to be more correct, as well as prison institutions, poor school, poor health, and things like that.
Yeah.
So when we understand that, then we can pay attention to the institutions, because these institutions is what's driving the business that's keeping this country, being employed, making money financially. Yeah. So we're being targeted one by one. We are all victims, and it's so sad to the point where those that's on the streets are in prison, because you are under the gun just like those that's in mass incarceration in prisons, and even homosexuals, because they have birthed a culture that the culture have said, okay, yeah, it's allowed. But when it goes to biblical or certain type of information, it's not. Now, that's not to define anybody. All I'm saying is we all have been a victim of some type of Americanized way of thinking. Every last one of our last names are still a slave master last name, bottom line. And when we define America's system, we can define that we can abolish certain things and come anew. And that's what I'm trying to do. We're trying to come anew. And since I can't abolish gang banging, of a person maybe killing each other, then we're going to create a whole new organization. And that's what Black Lives Matters or let's say Inglewood Champion here to do, bottom line.
Right. And it's also another part of it. I know that there's, along with the education and teaching part of the community, there's also another part of the community that you make sure is taken care of. I know that you have given out food and things like that. So tell us more about that and the importance of, just taking care of each other in that way.
Well, the importance of taking care of the community comes from the household. It comes from mother and father of them teaching their children how to take care of the community. Because when we take care of the community, then we can keep our children away from certain things and behaviors and influences that can put us in situations to be targeted. Because we have to understand something about institutional racism, especially when it comes to mass incarceration, or what we're talking about imprisonment now. And then I'll show you why it's important, of, like you said, of taking care of the community, because if we don't take care of the community, automatically we can go astray, because the system is set up to where we're in voluntary slavery. See, under the 13th Amendment, it states that, which is the United States Constitution, it states that one can be a slave according if they commit a crime. Mm-hmm. So that means that if I go and shoot somebody, or if I go and punch somebody, or if I go and rob somebody, or if I go prostitute, or if I go do something that's not lines up with American institution, quickly you will become a slave. Mm-hmm. You will be a slave. And this is how mass incarceration picks our black and brown women to be targeted, especially when it comes to gang banging, because they're giving up mass incarceration through sentence enhancements. Now, that's another story. Now, to go back to why we have to build our communities and why food drives and stuff like that is very important, because we can abolish that going to straight period. We can develop more economic stability in our community by teaching them businesses and building more empires and structures that can financially keep families stable. It would keep fathers in the household. Also, like you said, schooling. The information that's in a lot of our classes today is so appalling to the where if you pay attention to a lot of their curriculums, the curriculums don't even line up with the tests as which they're giving. Especially when it comes to the CASAS test, especially when it comes to the TAVE tests. And the CASAS test, they don't even give out classroom curriculum, especially in prisons, to where you can be taught the CASAS test, but you're being tested for the CASAS test.
Right.
About every 6 months, a person is in a classroom.
Okay.
And the information is always the same, whether if it's Romanized or Europeanized, or whether if it's Greek information. So with that information being put out there, I'm not going to say let's be biased. Let's not study it. Let's not acquire it, because learning, certain language and being open is great. And I also believe it may balance, but still in all, let's put more information here about the true culture of the Kushites, the original Ethiopians, the original Saudi Arabians, the original Arabians. The original people that comes out of the Jordan, or the original information that comes out of the Bible. All these information of which I'm speaking is called the original Kushites, or Kemet. So teach, our black children the information that we know for sure that can make them feel like true kings and queens of rulers, for they can run the businesses exactly how they are. I'm going to tell you how simple information is that I feel that every black little girl should know versus a white or Hispanic and etc. If you was to take a little black little girl and let her grow her hair out in locks from the ages of to where she can grow hair, and allow this Hispanic or this Caucasian girl to grow their hair just regular of how their hair is, just straight. This little black girl by the age of 18, hair will be longer than both of those, just by her locks, because that's the natural form of our people. And just that simple information needs to be taught in our classes. That's not taught in our classes. That can make one feel good about themselves.
Right, because when it comes to certain things, they it's been called ugly for so long, or wrong for so long, that can be psychologically effective. And a lot of people don't understand it, or bad for so long. Like, once upon a time, a black woman's hair, depending on her curl pattern, was considered bad hair. And people actually believed that and carried it in their heart. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it's very important to have that self-love taught. And it's not taught in a regular school. It's definitely not. They'll never teach that.
They'll never teach that, but that is the closest form of nature. Just like you said, that twirl is at 360 degrees, 360 degree of knowledge. You're taught that in the culture of Rastafarian, culture of Rastafari. That's how plants are grown. Before a plant is ripe, it has to hit a 360 degrees before it's spread out the ground and start spiraling into a beautiful tree. Or bush, or just as simple as a flower. Before a baby be able to be birthed, the fetus have to be wrapped in the mother's stomach in a 360 degrees before it can actually give birth.
360 is an important number.
So we have to understand something. It's very important for us to know the truth and information that targets our people in order to be either mentally blind, semi-conscious, or to a point to where you're just at death, where you don't know nothing about yourself or your people. And it's so sad to where blacks have been put in that type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that intricate. It's really not that intricate. Because especially when it comes to mass incarceration. Let's talk about mass incarceration now, because mass incarceration and education go hands in hand. Reason why mass incarceration and education go hands in hand, and this is why we teach our people to help our communities and hold on to our little boys, because they are the ones that's being targeted the fastest, especially black and brown. And you know, they say when it comes to gun and gang enhancement in the state of California, 95% of them are on maximum security in level 4 prisons. Now, reason why education and mass incarceration go hand in hand, because according to the Hamilton Project, it states that by a child not having a GED or a child not having a proper education by the age of 14 to 31, they are already expecting them to be in prison.
We parted ways on this particular conversation. What is some advice that you would give to someone that is young and they find themselves behind that side of the G-wall and they facing a lot of time?
That's a tough question. That is really a tough question. First and foremost, I would say learn who you are. And the only way you can learn who you are is by reading, studying. Start from reading the Holy Bible. Then read the Holy Quran. Then read the Torah. Because that teaches you all around knowledge of how this world first was birthed, how it began. And when you read the information, don't read it from the standpoint of a religion. Read it from a standpoint of just gaining information of how this world was developed from a microscope, like as if you're watching a movie. And from there, you learn from the beginning of life. And once you learn the beginnings of life, and you know that how you was birthed and how you was this king, and how our people was connected. And then from 1619, we became enslaved. We became ripped of who we are, of our language, of our morals, of our conduct, of our dignity, and then released into a world of already that was against our people. Mm-hmm. White supremacy, Ku Klux Klan members was against our people. Exactly the same exact year we came out of slavery, 1865. 1865 was the same exact year Ku Klux Klan members was founded. So once you have coming out this biblical time period and you see 500 years that Jesus Christ was birthed, but quickly right after Jesus Christ was birthed, our people started to be threatened, begin chased, begin murdered by the Romans, and how this information was then birthed to, like I said, us being enslaved and coming out of slavery became targeted of mass incarceration or impoverished communities or to where now we're at the point where we're killing ourselves because we're hungry for food. Mm-hmm. And become a revolutionary, become an activist. Build your community. If you have influence in your hood to be a killer or to be a thug or to be ruthless, then you can use these same brothers and these same sisters to build your city for positivity. Mm-hmm. And put your people in a better, in a financial situation, and eventually they're gonna stop killing each other because they got something to live for.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Yeah, bro. You said that. I agree with you. So tell the people how they can get in contact with you if they want to reach out.
Well, you can reach out to me at Inglewood's Kingdom, or you can reach out to me at Black Lives Matter Prison Chapter, and they both Facebook pages.
Okay.
Yeah, straight up.
I appreciate it. Go ahead, what you was going to say?
No, that's it.
Oh, well, I appreciate you, hollering at us. You dropped a lot of knowledge. I would suggest that you start doing maybe a bi-weekly or once a month podcast with us. You got a lot of information I think that would be beneficial to be put out to the masses.
Yeah, for sure. We could for sure do that. I'm open to whoever need assistance, and whenever you guys are open, or whenever you feel that you want me to tap in, I'm there.